Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. If you can hear me, could you please let me know by chatting or sending a message to the chat box? A simple yes. Good to know. Thank you for those who are replying to the chat box. No, so welcome everyone to REITs 101. I am your presenter, Marco, and it is my pleasure to be sharing with you some of the things we've learned, we've picked up, we've been studying with regards to real estate investment trusts. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. This will run until around 5:30, no? And as much as possible, I'd like this to be a very active session. I'd like to have a discussion with you. So some of you I see are here spending your time with me again after our webinar last Saturday. Last Saturday, we did the website navigation for a new platform. Today, we're talking about a different topic entirely. We will be talking about real estate investment trusts. All right? So I'd like to encourage everyone to feel free to send in their questions. Sana sa Q&A, no? Q&A box yung questions. Tapos, for feedback, dito na lang tayo sa chat box. But for questions, sa Q&A button ho sana tayo maglagay, no? So, para may orderliness lang tayo ng konti. So, welcome everyone. Welcome some colleagues. I see some colleagues here, some participants from last Saturday, and some new friends. So, if everyone is okay, it's 4:02. We can start with the presentation. All right? All right. Allow me to just introduce myself and give a little bit of background on who your presenter is. My name is Marco. I'm a senior manager at FirstMetroSec. My role in the company is to pursue business development initiatives, provide market education services like this webinar we have this afternoon, and to also inform, share, and distribute information, opportunities to our partners within the Metrobank group. No? So I usually handle our partners in the private wealth division, also the investment distribution team, and the retail banking sector. So that's my role for First MetroSec, and I'm very, very honored to be your host once again. I have certifications from the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, to talk about stocks, mutual funds. I'm also certified by the BSP to talk about UITFs. And I also have the certification CFMP, which stands for Certified Financial Markets Professional. I'm an entrepreneur on the side, no, during weekends. I have two coffee businesses, one in Mandaluyong, one in Baguio. I very much love third wave specialty coffee, and hopefully one of these days I can share my passion with everyone here. During weeknights, no, during the evenings, I attend class. I am a graduate student. I'm currently taking my master's in finance from UP. No? So I'll try to incorporate some of the things that I learned so far to this session. All right, so this is your speaker. I hope you cut him some slack. No, pagbigyan niyo po. And please be patient as we try to navigate this topic together. Let's not talk about my coffee shop. No? That's not the topic of the webinar. Baka sitayin pa ako ni colleagues ko nandito. But sa ibang usapan na ho yun. Thank you. Let's get to the first question. No? This REIT pala webinar talks about we will try to answer these questions now. What are REITs? What is a REIT? Okay. What are the risks and potential rewards of investing in a REIT company? And finally, what are the REITs available in the market today? So our discussion, our presentation will revolve around those three topics. So we'll start with the first question. What are REITs, no? Or what is a REIT? Okay. A real estate investment trust company is a stock corporation. First and foremost, it is a stock corporation. This stock corporation was set up and is currently existing for the purpose of owning real estate assets. Okay, real estate assets that generate revenue and income subject to a specific REIT plan. Let me repeat. REITs are corporations that were set up to exist and own real estate assets that generate revenue and income subject to a REIT plan. That's a lot of words to take in, no? But hopefully by the end of the presentation, medyo nagigets na natin. So I have this diagram here to show exactly how a REIT works. So a REIT company, again, exists to own income-generating real estate assets. What are these assets? Now, what can they be? What can be included or considered income-generating real estate assets? First and foremost, you have office spaces. You can consider commercial centers as real estate that generates income, hotels and resorts. And most siguro pinaka upcoming ngayon is energy, real estate that earn through energy generation and distribution. It's pretty much a holding company, no? So it exists just to own real estate that generate income. I'd like to make a point that both the REIT this particular company, and the REIT plan must be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the REIT itself, the REIT company, must be publicly listed on the Philippine Stock Exchange. That means it should be tradable and it should be subject to the rules of a publicly listed company. And siguro the most prominent requirement of being listed is transparency. You are subject to disclosing a lot of material information. You are heavily scrutinized by the investing public because your documents, your financial statements, your activities are always and constantly under review. And there must be some level of professionalism. So let's say we have a REIT company and it might own one or several types of income-generating real estate assets. So far, what we've seen is that each real estate asset so far that we have is focusing just on one type, no, or one or two types, no. So mostly sa ngayon puro office spaces yung mga income generating assets ng mga REITs. Office spaces, some have hotels and resorts, no, and commercial centers or retail spaces as we call it. So imagine our REIT company owns these. Sino ang nagde-decide how much to distribute capital in terms of ano yung pipiliin kong office spaces, paano yung ima-manage niyan, 'di ba? Sino magkokolekta ng pera? That is handled by an independent fund manager employed or contracted with by the REIT company. So usually yung fund manager na to kapangalan din naman ng REIT, no? But the important point is it is intended to be an independent fund manager. As for the property itself, they are managed by an independent property manager. Madalas kapangalan din naman nito ng REIT, but the idea is there is an independent property manager to ensure that the real estate under the company are physically pleasing, no, are being kept well, maintained well, no, right? So imagine all of these, one or several of these income generating assets provide revenue for the REIT company. Now, here's the special trait of REIT companies. The special trait of REIT companies is that when these revenue generating real estate assets provide income to the REIT company through rent paid, no, if you're talking about office spaces, commercial centers, hotels and resorts, no, once they give income to the REIT company is required by law to distribute 90% of the net distributable income to its shareholders as dividends. That's the special feature. 90% of a REIT's distributable income should be paid out as dividends. That is why the REIT plan, as I mentioned earlier, is also registered with the SEC. That's why it has to be listed on the stock exchange so that the regulators like the SEC can monitor the activity and ensure compliance to the REIT law. This is actually Republic Act number 9856. So this is the basic diagram of how REITs work. Okay, I hope as we go through our discussion, you keep this diagram in mind. It will make our discussion more graspable, no? Mas maintindihan ho natin yung pag-uusapan, and hopefully you can appreciate it, no? Questions so far? I see 8 questions. Thank you. Okay, before I move on, no, let's try to answer some questions. I did say naman na we want this to be dynamic. We want it to be a discussion. So the first question is, does the REIT company have to give out dividends every year? The answer is, as long as there's net distributable income, it has to give out dividends. Basta may net distributable income. Here's the thing, no, about net distributable income. A REIT company may actually have no income, or it might have distributable income. It might have income that it chooses to reinvest in itself para makapag-expand yung REIT company. How will the REIT company expand? It can expand by adding more assets into its portfolio. It can reinvest in itself by, let's say, improving the buildings, no, or the properties that it owns. The idea is, as long as there is net income, the REIT company should classify ano dito yung net distributable, ano dito yung re-reinvest ko. And doon sa portion that is net distributable, 90% of that has to be paid out as dividends. So that's something that I wanted to clarify lang. Hindi net income, net distributable income. So I hope I was able to answer this question. Next question, is the income solely coming from lease? Actually, if you look at the financial statements of the REITs, the main generator of revenue is the lease, no? The lease income. But the REIT itself is also free to invest in other types of assets like government securities, no? And short-term placements. It's actually in the REIT law, but the idea is it's not more than 75%. The idea lang is that these REIT companies are able to generate income for its shareholders. If you have questions, type in nyo na lang. No need to raise your hands, but thank you for participating. Okay, how was the 90% dividend rule made? Is it a global standard? I think the rule was made based on what is being done in Singapore and in Hong Kong. So this dividend rule was put into law. No, it was been studied, and I think even the different units of the government, Congress, Senate, lawmakers, no, also the PSE itself. I know that one of the chief officers there was very instrumental in setting this, no. But this dividend rule is just to ensure that the REIT vehicle is number one, attractive, no, for investors. Number two, it will basically ensure cash flow movement, creating value for different levels, of course, for the shareholder, for the company, for the industry which the REIT company invests in, be it office spaces, BPOs, commercial centers, para lang may galaw yung pera, para may movement yung cash flow. So thank you for that question. Okay, maybe one more before I move on. So if they have income, does it mean na may dividends for investors? The answer is yes. Okay, so thank you for that question. Again, as long as there is net distributable income, 90% has to be given out to shareholders. Hindi to negotiable. Kailangan talaga. Ngayon, it is the company that has to decide what net distributable income is, and it has to inform the SEC. So keep this graphic in mind, then keep the questions coming. We'll try to answer some questions after every section, and then we'll also have a Q&A afterwards. Okay? So again, what is a REIT? REITs are stock corporations that were set up to exist and own real estate assets that generate revenue and income, subject to a REIT plan, registered with the SEC. The REIT company itself must be publicly traded on the Philippine Stock Exchange. So, as an investor, no, you're here because you want to invest. You're here in this webinar because you have probably heard of REITs and you've heard of their performances, and now you're wondering, how can I benefit from REITs? Like anything with regards to the stock market, how we really earn lang naman are two ways, no. First is share price growth, no, capital appreciation, price appreciation, if you will, and more traditional way are through dividends, and this forms part of the income portion, no? So you earn either through growth or through income. Okay, what are the things that are influencing, no, a REIT company share price, no? So what will make its share price grow, and what are the things that will make the REIT company continue to pay out dividend income? When it comes to price appreciation and share price growth, a lot of the REITs, no, a lot of the share prices of the REITs are influenced by what the fund manager is doing, what the underlying income generating assets are doing, and how much cash it is able to generate for the REIT company. Case in point, no? So if you have a REIT company that invests in commercial centers, in office spaces, if the REIT company adds another building, halimbawa, or another asset into its balance sheet, into its portfolio, di lalaki yung portfolio niya. That means that on the asset side of the financial equation, lalaki assets, mag-a-adjust dyan on the right side, either debt or equity. But REITs are disincentivized to borrow a lot. They are usually, they're usually keeping low maintaining debt levels. So ang lalaki dyan is equity, right? So if lalaki equity, yung share price niya lalaki. So that might be a catalyst for growth on the price appreciation, no? So if there's price appreciation, there's also price depreciation. So what might make a REIT company share price drop, decline, depreciate? Well, it could be because may income generating asset na tinanggal from the portfolio, right? Or hindi siya nagge-generate ng income, or perhaps plans are discontinued, no? So keep in mind that these businesses are much like any other business, and that its assets have to generate revenue for the principles of the business. So let's think about it from the perspective of how those assets are performing, how they are used, how they are growing. So those are the factors that might affect the share price. How about the dividends? What might make a REIT's dividends remain the same, get smaller, or grow? Okay, for now, let's go back to this slide. So if you are a REIT company investing in office spaces, ang office space na yan, may mga umuupa dyan. You have tenants, you have clients. And later when we get to the third question, we'll show you some of the clients, no? But these clients who rent from the building, from the REIT, have a contract. The contract says, I am going to lease from this property for 5, 10, 15 years. And I'm going to pay this rent every month. An interesting thing here is that every year, yung mga lease contracts na to, may step-up rate, may increase rate yan. Next year, I'll have to pay more rent kasi magi-increase yung upa ko based on interest rates plus a certain spread. If we go back here and talk about dividends, what are the catalysts for dividends of a REIT? It's the lease contracts madalas. It's the step-up rate of these lease contracts. And it's also the lease expiry status, no? Ang mga nakikita namin madalas the lease expiries of the REITs are somewhere around 5 to 10 years. So you can have peace of mind that the company will continue to generate revenues at least for the next 5 years, and then kapag nag-expire yung lease contract, either magre-renew at different terms or maghanap ng bago. So those are the things that might affect price appreciation and dividends on an investor's perspective, no, on a shareholder's perspective like you and I mentioned that the REITs are stock corporations, no? So if you are interested in investing in REITs, you have to buy shares through a broker. Fortunately, FirstMetroSec is one of the leading brokerages in the Philippines. So we will help you get access to REITs through your FirstMetroSec online trading account. Just like any shares of stock being traded on the exchange, the process is the same when it comes to REITs. You have to go online or call your broker. Say, I'd like to buy shares of a REIT company I'm eyeing. Diba? You have to fund your purchase. You have to exchange your cash for shares of stock. And then it is up to you na if you want to hold the shares of stock kasi maganda nga yung dividends, or you hold the shares of stock kasi maganda yung kwento ng REIT at they are aggressively pursuing growth. Again, how do you do this? Through adding more assets to the portfolio, by increasing the quality of your tenants, by expanding your base, your client base, right? So those are the things that might affect REITs, and this is how you get access to REITs. You have to course it through stock trading account. Sige, let's delve deeper into the discussion on REITs, no? Now let's talk about it from other perspectives, in the sense that ano yung mga kailangan natin i-consider. What are the potential risks and the potential rewards of REITs? So I'd like to just highlight a few points, no? Some of the things that we usually take a look at when we assess the potential risks and rewards of REITs are the quality and attractiveness of the underlying asset, no? The quality and attractiveness of the office spaces, the hotels and resorts, commercial centers and energy, diba? If we analyze this properly, then we can analyze if the investment in REITs is actually a worthwhile consideration. We also assess yung location, no, for at least the REITs that invest in real estate, in office spaces, no, and hotels. But for energy, mamaya we'll go into yung city core, no. We'll have a short discussion on city core. Another thing that we like to take a look at is the cost. Okay, the cost of buying shares on the top level, and the cost of, let's say, foregoing the option of buying shares and trying to match the investment directly by, let's say, buying real estate yourself, and you yourself acting as a pseudo REIT company. Let's also take a look at the perspective of terms and conditions from the point of view of an investor. And then we'll have a quick discussion on economic factors that might affect the underlying assets, no? And then finally, the market for REITs. Sige, let's talk about first quality and attractiveness. So how do we assess REITs from the perspective of quality and attractiveness? Isama na rin natin dito yung location kasi practical din naman ipagsama. So as mentioned earlier, we have a fund manager. Our REIT has a fund manager to help decide what to invest in and from whom to collect money from. Ang property manager and the fund manager work hand in hand to assess, evaluate, acquire, and ensure the quality. They have to ensure that what they invest in are able to generate income for the REIT company. So they have a very, very tough job, is what I'm trying to say. For REITs that invest in office spaces, kailangan dyan, syempre, maganda yung building, di ba? Syempre, kailangan yung tenant pwede magbayad ng upa. Kailangan yung tenant na yun may paggagamitan yung lupa. If you have a tenant that's renting from you but nobody goes to their office, no, then it might disincentivize the tenant to prolong the lease, or he or she might ask na paano naman, pa-waive naman ng upa this month kasi work from home kami, ganyan. So kailangan maganda, very high quality, very attractive yung portfolio mo. So when it comes to location, and you're looking at, let's say, the existing REITs that invest in office spaces, commercial centers, hotels, and resorts, no? If you have a REIT company that's investing in hotels, yung hotel, is it in a tourist spot na hindi naman mapupuntahan kasi ang daming restrictions ngayon? Or is it somewhere in the city being used to house yung mga returning Filipinos that need to quarantine? No? So those are some of the more current issues that we face right now, that the fund manager faces when it comes to assessing quality, attractiveness, and location. When it comes to the cost of investing in REITs, on the perspective of a shareholder like you and me, ang titingnan ko dyan is how much the price of the share is. And if you're already familiar with stock trading, you are subject to the minimum board lot. So for most of the REITs now, minimum number of shares is 100 or 10 depending on the price, and it will cost you as low as a few hundred pesos to maybe like 1,000, 2,000 pesos. So on our side, on the investor side, it's quite affordable, and it gives you the ability to invest indirectly in office spaces, in hotels and resorts, no, in commercial centers, as opposed to doing it yourself. Ano ibig sabihin ni Marco, no? Let's take a look at it from the perspective na if you mismo were to buy properties yourself, ayaw mo idaan sa REIT, gusto mo ikaw gumawa. So let's look at what's happening now, no? So I got this information from my broker friend. He gave me a range of price per square meter at the different cities in the greater Metro Manila area, no? As you can see, medyo mahal per square meter, which means that if you have to buy a condo that's at around 40 square meter and you'd like to lease it out yourself, you're looking at a very large investment of around 4 million, 8 million, 10 million, depending on where you are looking at. Diba? So if you want to invest in real estate yourself, if you want to play the part of a REIT company, the barrier to entry is quite high because the investment might be high. Number two, your tenant might be a difficult tenant. Like kung bumili ka ng condo tapos may umupa sa'yo, baka hindi ka pa makapag-deposit ng post-dated checks, diba? Kasi sabihin niya, ay, kulang sweldo ko this month, di ako makabayad, diba? And then, of course, if you buy a condo, you have to take a look at the developer. Sino ba nag-develop yan? Ayala ba yung condo? SM? Rockwell? DMCI? Diba? Mega World ba yan? Diba? Will it appreciate in the city that it's situated in or not? Diba? So a lot of factors come into play with regards to quality, attractiveness, the cost. So ang maganda dyan is, the point lang I'd like to highlight or make here is that you don't have to make this decision, because when you invest in REITs, the fund manager makes a decision for you. You just have to go along for the ride if you trust in the REIT, in the company, in the name, and in the strategy. So yun lang, we're assessing now investment in REITs through the lens of quality, attractiveness, location, and cost. Another siguro point I'd like to make with regards to investing in REITs and assessing the investment is we take a look at the terms, no? When we invest in REITs, ang terms lang naman that are applicable sa atin is that we have a stock trading account. We abide by the trading rules set by the SEC and the PSE. Ganun lang naman, how many shares to buy, pay for your investment, tapos kung bebenta ka, T+3. Ganun lang kasimple for us. But if you were to do the investing yourself directly to commercial centers, to office spaces, to hotels and resorts, if you were the one to do it directly, syempre, mag-iiba na yung usapan. If you're going to buy condos yourself, if you're going to invest in commercial centers yourself, magpapatayo tayo. Then, ang daming paperwork yan. Kailangan mo kausapin yung broker mo, yung ahente, kakaltasan ka pa ng broker's fee na malaki. Pag property, what is it? 1, 2, 3%. Pag stock trading, it's only 0.25%. If you want to put up a building and lease it out to businesses, warehouses, construction, ganyan, kakasapin mo pa yung LGU, and ang dami pang things that can come into play there. So, in terms of simplicity, it's much, much simpler to course your investment through a REIT than if you were to do the investing in real estate yourself. Because again, ang point lang naman ito is we invest in a vehicle that generates income. So if you want to do the generative income yourself through property real estate, it's much, much more difficult and strenuous, and it's much more of a hassle. Okay, economic conditions, no? What do we mean when we say economic conditions when we assess investing in REITs? When we talk about economic conditions, we talk mostly about GDP, gross domestic product. We talk about employment, diba? Or unemployment rate for that matter. We talk about income, disposable income. We talk about inflation, and we talk about interest rates. So for REITs siguro, no, to simplify the discussion, ang pinakamalaking bagay siguro dito sa economic conditions is titingnan natin yung interest rate muna. Because interest rates help determine the lease contracts. Kung uupa sa'yo, it will be based on a rate. The rate that it will be based on is usually interest rate set by the BSP plus a certain spread to account for added risk. So interest rates, if interest rates goes up, normally for businesses, that's bad kasi cost of borrowing will increase. But is it really bad for REITs? It might be bad or it might not be bad. why won't it be bad? Because if you have businesses whose lease will expire in 1 to 2 years, tapos mag-renegotiate kayo at mas mataas na interest rate, that means you can lock them in to a contract wherein they will pay higher interest or higher lease to you based on the prevailing interest rates, right? So it is an interesting concept that higher interest rates, which normally are not good for businesses, might actually be good for REITs. Ang crucial lang dyan is that, again, quality of the tenant, and crucial lang dyan is wala masyadong utang yung REIT company, right? So first things, interest rates. Usually interest rates are bad for companies, no, bad for the stock market. But in this case, it might actually be a benefit for REITs. Another thing that we'd like to talk about siguro is GDP, of course, employment. If a lot of people are employed, then you're going to need office spaces, assuming we return to normal. And where do you go for office spaces? Where do you lease? You go to the buildings madalas na kilala, no? Like Robinsons, Mega World, you go to Ayala Land, you go to SM, right? You go to the employers that have set up buildings where there are a lot of office spaces. Of course, GDP is a given, no? Positive GDP growth, we're expanding. That means the probability, the likelihood of businesses thriving and expanding the Philippines will be better. And this is, of course, good for REITs kasi nga they can expand their portfolio and then they can collect money from their tenants. And then finally, presence of a market. If you and I are going to invest in shares of stock of a REIT, of course, we have a stock trading account. We buy shares on the secondary market, on the exchange. And that means there's some liquidity. You can enter and exit as long as the market is open, 9:30 to 1 p.m. nowadays. You can buy shares, you can sell shares. That is the general idea of liquidity. You can readily exit your investment because there is a market. But let's say you wanted to do the investing yourself. You wanted to play the part of a REIT vehicle. Para I don't want to invest in REIT companies. I'll just do the investing myself. So I'll buy my own condos. I'll have, let's say, 5 condos. I'll buy something. I'll put up a building, ganyan. And then let's say, sige, nakabili ka ng DMCI, nakabili ka ng diba, ng Philinvest, nakabili ka ng Ali. And normally naman, condos, house and lot, they appreciate. Sure. What about liquidity? Can you, how easy is it to sell house and lot, or how easy is it to sell condominiums? No, it might take maybe a week, a month, 6 months. Pag house and lot, maybe a year, right? Mabibenta mo rin naman, but the point lang is that it's not as liquid as opposed to shares of stock. So the market is a very important consideration for assessing investments in REITs. Pag REITs, shares of stock, buy and sell on the secondary market, very much liquid. If you want to do the investing directly yourself, then it might not be as liquid. All right, so at this point, siguro I'll take a look at the Q&A question. I see some more questions being thrown. So let's try to answer some of them now before we move along to the next slide. What is the minimum government requirement now for a company to make a REIT? Are there minimum earning income years before it can be added to the REIT? Okay, so I have not seen any general rule for this question. What is the minimum government requirement for a company to create a REIT vehicle? There's no general rule, I believe, but again, before you launch a REIT, it must be registered with the SEC. So ang titingnan ni SEC dyan, is the company legitimate? Does it have a track record? Does it have the ability to make good on their promises? Kung makita ni SEC na medyo mababa yung quality ng REIT na to, they can of course not approve it because they are actually the regulators to protect, of course, the integrity of the capital markets and the securities that are being offered on the PDEX and the PSE. So I think that if hindi magustuhan ni SEC yung proposal to set up a REIT, hindi nila magusto yung REIT plan, hindi nila i-approve. So far, what we've seen is that the REITs that have come out are usually worth at least around 10 billion pesos. So I would say that's a benchmark for setting up a REIT company. And this is a very, very young industry in the Philippines actually. Siguro to mark the start was August 2020. So we're not even 2 years na we've seen REITs in the Philippines. Of course, they have been around longer in Singapore, Hong Kong, other countries. But dito sa Pilipinas, it was very, very instrumental that the first REIT company to come out was a very reputable company. I'm talking about Ayala. So Ayala Land was the sponsor of a REIT, and a REIT was the pioneer in the market. So I think that because the quality was set high, the REITs that will follow have to or have already a benchmark with which to follow. I'll siguro try and study if there's a minimum government requirement on REITs, but I think it's much closer to setting up a business and having it listed and be publicly traded. So I'm not privy to this information, but I'll try to get the answer, and if I give this presentation again next time, I'll incorporate it. So thank you for the question. Siguro maybe 2 more questions before we move through. Are dividends paid out monthly or yearly? We will answer this in slides later, but to preempt myself, so far they have been paid quarterly. No, they're expected to be paid quarterly. So I'll show you the history and the likelihood later when we get to the existing REITs available in the market. Thank you. Last question before we move on. Okay, good question. How risky are REITs? Is it considered balanced? I suppose you mean moderate, or is it aggressive? All right. By virtue of it being equity, no, shares of stock, it's automatically classified as aggressive. No, it is a risky investment insofar that it is equity, it is shares of stock. But because it pays out dividends, no, it is expected to pay out dividends by virtue of the model that REITs have, which is to generate income through underlying assets and then pay out 90% to investors, to shareholders. It also displays behavior similar to preferred shares and similar to fixed income. Okay? The difference lang is that yung fixed income, obligation yun sa'yo na mabayaran ka na interest Pag preferred shares naman, you have a higher ranking in terms of when to receive money. But dito sa REIT, you're buying common shares and although there is no promise to pay you and you don't have higher ranking, you do have that REIT law that says that as long as there is net distributable income, if you are holding shares, you are going to receive income, right? So to go back to the question, it is by virtue of being a stock an aggressive investment, but the risk is mitigated because of the cash flow from the dividends, right? So aggressive na napupull down to moderately aggressive siya. So that's how I would classify REITs. Thank you for that very, very good question. Are the contracts held by REITs available to the public or investors? My source of information is PSE Edge and the websites of the REITs themselves, no. So again, ito mga REITs by virtue of being a publicly traded company are subject to disclosure requirements, right? I would advise siguro that you go to PSE Edge and take a look at the disclosure made around the end of 2021. The 3-year investment strategy. No, it's a good 5-6 page summary of the plans of the REITs over the next 3 to 5 years. All the REITs posted, no, their plans. And in their plans, nakalagay din doon yung current status, no. So nakalagay doon yung percent occupancy, nakalagay doon yung percent collection, nakalagay doon yung weighted average lease expiry, nakalagay doon kung sino yung mga tenants, right? So the contracts themselves, I have not seen the contracts because that might be private information, no? Proprietary private information. The terms of the contracts might not be available to the public, but the nature of the contracts, no, in as far as the pertinent details, the summary, the salient points, they are being disclosed by the REITs, right? So thank you for this question. No? So to make the long story short, I don't think the contracts in its entirety are publicly disclosed, but the salient points, the details are. And you can view this sa PSE Edge and most of the time doon sa mismong website ng mga REITs that we will be talking about. So thank you for this very good question. Again, what's the risk clarification of REITs? I'll say aggressive, but downgraded to moderately aggressive by virtue of the business model and by virtue of the cash flow. Okay, sige, let's move along. No? To summarize lang this discussion no, in assessing REITs, when we assess REITs, we want to take a look at the quality and attractiveness of the underlying assets. We want to take a look at the location of where the underlying assets are. We want to take a look at the cost for us as investors, the terms and conditions, what we are subject to, the economic environment that allows the REIT to operate, and finally the liquidity or the presence of a market. So let's focus first on the right column, no, assessing REITs. Again, the nice thing here is that when we assess the REITs, yes, we can take a look at the contracts, the underlying assets, but please note that any decision pertaining to the REITs investment in underlying assets is done by the fund manager. No? So they are the one assessing it based on the REIT plan. The REIT plan is available through the PSE Edge and also on the websites. No? So public information yung mga REIT plan na yan. So if you like the plan, you like the strategy, you can view it. If you don't like it, then you can just look at the next REIT. Compare this if you yourself had to do the investing directly. Ikaw mag-assess, no, yung property, saan ba siya, sino yung developer, sino yung umuupa dyan, yung quality ng tenant, and it will be much more hassle for you. Sa location, it's the same, but the main difference lang is that when you assess the location, you're assessing it from the point of view of it being a commercial real estate, not so much residential, no? And I think the main point here is that when you are leasing out to commercial businesses, you have less risk as compared to leasing out to residential tenants, right? I would say potentially less risk to lease out to a commercial establishment than to a residential tenant. When you invest in REITs, the consideration there for cost is price per share times the number of shares that you want to buy. The consideration for investing directly in real estate is the price per square meter and the number of square meters of the land. Terms and conditions, pag REITs ang titingnan natin, you have the SEC and PSE. Pag real estate naman, if you're going to buy the real estate directly, you'll be subject to the developer's terms and conditions. Ito yung amortization mo, ito yung turnover mo, ito yung ready for occupancy document, kukuha ka ng loans, 'di ba? Tapos magbabayad ka ng loan sa bank, and then that's only when you can have it generate income pag nakuha mo na yung condo, tapos uupa sa'yo, tapos pag bebenta mo, kailangan mo maghanap ng broker, right? So medyo masakit sa ulo, no? So all of that can be done away with REITs, no? For economic conditions, so we have to look at it from the perspective of what the economy can tell us, or how can the economy affect the underlying businesses, no? I touched on income, interest rates, employment, GDP, and it's pretty much the same for the real estate, investing directly in real estate. Pag nagpaupa tayo ng condo, titingnan natin sino yung tenant, may trabaho ba yan, makakabayad ba, may checking account ba yan, makakabigay ba yan ng post-dated checks, di ba? Those kinds of things, no? And then finally, for liquidity, no, for REITs, it's very liquid by virtue of it being tradable on the stock exchange. And then for direct investment real estate, you're subject to the property market in the area, right? So depende sa brokers, sa interested investors na kukuha from you. These are the principal differences between REITs and direct investment to real estate, and these are the lenses with which we use to view and assess these investments, right? I think we were able to answer what are the potential risks and rewards to investing in REITs, no? So the potential rewards is capital growth, price appreciation, and dividends. The potential risks are those that might affect the underlying assets. So I wanted to make that point very clear lang, no? When we assess REITs, we assess ano yung mga income generating assets niya, ano yung profile nun, ano yung location, quality, attractiveness, cost, of course and the economic factors, and the liquidity. So now we move on to the third question. The third question for this webinar being, what are the existing REITs in the market? What are the REITs available in the market? So far we have these names. No, we have A-REIT, we have Mega World REIT, we have Double Dragon Meridian Park REIT, Robinson's Land Commercial REIT, RL Commercial REIT, and Phil REIT. No, so we have 5 pa lang so far, and very very soon we will have our 6th in the Citicorp Energy REIT Corp. So let's go over these very, very quickly, no? Again, I just wanted to share with you some of these, and we'll be talking lang about the salient points, no? Hindi po tayo mag-analyze ng REIT ngayon, but perhaps as we go along the salient points, you have some idea on the quality, attractiveness, location, etc. No? So first thing I'd like to talk about is A-REIT. Okay? A-REIT muna tayo. Why A-REIT first? Because it is the first REIT to debut, no, in the market in the Philippines, and so far A-REIT, I think, has been making investors very, very happy. Okay. Issue price niya, August 2020, was 27 pesos per share. Last price as of today's closing is 52 pesos per share. That means for a year and a half, no, investors saw price appreciation approximately 92%. No, 92% gain since IPO. Let's talk about price appreciation, no, or growth. How about income, dividends, no? We have here the dividend yield, no? So the way we compute this is we take a look at the cash dividends over the last 12 months, and then we divide that by the current share price. So we have a table below the logo of REIT. It tells you the cash dividends per share, when it was announced, what the X date was, when it was paid. If you take the last 4 cash dividends and divide it by the last price 52, you get a trailing 12-month yield of 3.25%. Is that good? Is that bad? Siguro, let's not answer that good or bad question. Let's frame it as is it a high yield or a low yield? Well, considering that, there are fixed income, preferred shares that give that, I would say it's not particularly attractive looking at it from the past perspective. If you're going to take a look at the forward-looking perspective, forward 12 months, over the next 12 months, it's expected to give cash dividends that will generate investors around 4%. It's not also particularly high, no? Then the reason for that is because mataas na yung share price niya at 52. Mataas na yung share price niya at 52. Okay, so the idea is if the share price goes down, the yield will go up, and it might make a REIT a more attractive investment. But let's talk a little bit about the quality and attractiveness of a REIT. As of the 9 months 2021 financial statements, A-REIT reported 34.8 billion in investment properties. No? And I think the driver of the share price growth really has been the activity of the Ayala Group. When they debuted on the Philippine Stock Exchange, sabi nila they had 171,000 square meters to lease. And by the end of 2021, they were able to grow this to 549,000 square meters. So that was the catalyst for the growth. In terms of quality, 99% occupancy, 96% rental collection. So high quality tenants. The table below shows you, let's zoom into the table below para makita natin. No? The tenant shows you sino yung mga umuupa dyan or what is the profile of the tenants. No? Mostly offices, hotels. I think this is Seda. No? Retail space. I think this is Ayala at the 30th Pasig. Diba? And then industrial lots. I'm talking about Integrated Microelectronics Inc. IMI ni Ayala. So you look at the lease expiry, mga ano pa, matagal pa yung iba. No? For the offices, it's usually 5 years or so. But since this was booked around 2 years ago, syempre, nag-shorten na yung duration. And then the overall, siguro weighted average lease expiry is around 9.2 years kasi some of those are land as opposed to just the buildings themselves. In terms of profitability, and they're generating dividends, no? A-REIT reported 2.11 billion in revenues and 1.79 billion net income as of 9 months 2021. So good quality earning, right? And they were able to distribute 1.73 billion in cash dividends in 2021. Question, I usually get, what if I got nung IPO, no? What if I got nung IPO? Ano yung yield ko? The answer there is that the yield will be close to around 6.57%. No? So if you got early, that is good. If you're planning to get a REIT now, you might want to consider the others first before you make your decision, or you might want to distribute among the rest. But the idea is there are a lot of options and the quality remains high. So ito yung mga properties niya nung IPO, Solaris 1, that is the building along De La Rosa in Ayala and Makati. Ayala North Exchange, where I believe BPI's head office is now. McKinley Exchange, this is in the intersection of EDSA and McKinley call center. BPOs. And then after they did the IPO, when they raised money, they used the money raised to purchase Teleperformance Cebu. Ayun, I mentioned Ayala Mall at the 30th in Pasig, IMI. And then they did not stop there. They've been doing property for share swaps with Ayala Land Inc. What the idea here is they'll get more property into their portfolio, but in exchange for that property, bibigay nila yung shares. They will give Ayala Land shares, no? So I just checked the standing of A-REIT now. Sino yung mga prominent investors niya? 66% of A-REIT is owned by Ayala Land Inc. and 34% is owned by investors, no, different investors, institutional and retail. So I'd just like to make a point here that, you know, for REITs, no, any REIT, they have a sponsor, and the sponsor is usually a very well-known company that benefits as well from the creation and the development and the performance of the REIT. So it is in the best interest of Ayala, it is in the interest of Ayala Land Inc. that a REIT continue to perform well, no? That they continue to have high quality tenants, that they continue to pay dividends, because 66% of a REIT is owned by their parent company, Ayala Land Inc. Right? So if Ayala Land Inc. believes in a REIT as investors, that also tells us na may tiwala si Mr. Jaza, si FCA. They know the insides of the business, no? They have material information on how well it's performing. For us who rely on publicly disclosed info, no, it's telling us basically na parang it's a worthwhile at least, no, a very considerable investment for us. So this is the story of a REIT, no. Let's not talk about muna yung view natin, yung outlook for a REIT, but in so many words, high quality REIT has been making investors very, very happy since IPO. There are catalysts for growth, but at the current price, it might be a little bit pricier compared to the rest, no. So if you have a REIT shares, hold it lang. I'm sure you're very, very happy. If you're looking pa lang to get into REITs, let's take a look at the rest muna. Next REIT that I'd like to discuss very briefly and talk about the salient points is Double Dragon Meridian Park REIT. This is the REIT vehicle of Mr. Injab Sia, no, and the Double Dragon Group. It debuted last year around March 2021. And it was listed at, it was offered rather, at 2.25 pesos per share. So since then, the share price has dropped to around 1.8. It has been trading around this share price range for about, 4 or 5 months now. So it's dropped around 20% since IPO. However, at this price, and in consideration of the dividends that Double Dragon Meridian Park REIT has been paying investors, it actually has a very attractive dividend yield, no? So if you take the dividends over the last 12 months and divide that by the current share price of 1.8, you get a dividend yield of 5.33. And if you are looking at the projected dividends over the next 12 months, given that, there's a step up doon sa yearly lease, given that there are still plans that they want to pursue, then analysts have projected that the yield for 2022 will be around 6.81%. So good dividend yields, not much happening in the share price area. Summary of Double Dragon Meridian Park REIT: it has 40.5 billion pesos worth of investment properties, mostly concentrated around the Pasay area. Okay, they report a 97.7% occupancy. They have revenues 1.8 billion. They have net income, but I didn't want to report the net income. I wanted to share the EBIT kasi they have extra help from tax incentives. So medyo it freed up cash, sure, but hindi ko pa masyado na-aral. So let me just quote na lang yung EBIT at 1.51 billion. No? In 2021, they were able to distribute 1.71 billion in cash dividends. Why is that higher than EBIT? Because they were also already collecting from the underlying tenants prior to their listing on the exchange. So 2020 pa lang, medyo in operation na yung REIT company before listing. And then you were able to use some of that cash to distribute as dividends. So what are the properties? You have Double Dragon Plaza, Double Dragon Center East, and DD Center West, all in Pasay. And this is a screen grab that I got from their prospectus. This tells you who they are leasing out to, right? So a lot of it is BPO office, gaming related, non-gaming related. I have not seen an update. I have not been able to check an update of this kung nag-rebalance na sila, nag-reshuffle. But I think the reason why the share price depreciated from IPO date, listing date, is because of its exposure to POGOs. So for those who are familiar, may mga issues ang POGOs on the national government level, and that might have spooked or disincentivized investors to invest, or to it might have sent a message for investors to let go of their shares. So sentiment declined for DDMPR. But I remember nung IPO nito, sobrang pinag-uusapan to because of the excitement of the first REIT, Ayala REIT, A-REIT. People were excited about DDMPR. So ang sabi nila, they will use the proceeds to help develop yung Double Dragon Meridian Park, which is composed of Double Dragon Tower and Ascot DD Meridian Park. And from what I saw earlier this afternoon, medyo on pause or discontinued. I can't say for sure, but this is a pending development that they have not yet gotten operational, right? So assuming they're able to get this operational this year, it might be the catalyst for share price growth, and it could also help increase the dividends. So keep this in your watch list. So far underperforming siya compared to A-REIT and the rest that we will talk about, but it's still worth considering at least for dividends. Yun muna yung kwento natin for Double Dragon Meridian Park REIT. The third one I'd like to highlight is Philinvest REIT. This one came out August 2021, and it debuted, or it was offered at the price of 7 pesos per share. Last price niya as of today's closing is 7.78. Wait lang, is that 5.7%? Let me double check. Sorry, that's 11.14% since IPO. So around 11% up since IPO, right? And if you'll notice the history of cash dividends, that's not much kasi nga bagong list na lang siya. But if you annualize this, it will turn out to around 5.7% yield. And based on what analysts are expecting in 2022, it's expected to give cash dividends that will amount to around 5.96%. So mag-i-increase daw basically yung cash dividends per share. If you take a look at the salient points of PhilREIT, it's not as huge as the other ones. It only has about 9.2 billion pesos worth of investment properties, mostly in the Alabang, South Metro Manila area. They reported around 88% occupancy, which is not as high as the rest. But the nice thing about it is puro BPOs, call centers to, and foreign at that. So medyo matagal daw sila nag-lock in, maganda yung quality, they all pay lease, generating stable revenue. So in the 9 months of 2021 so far, they've reported 2.82 billion revenues, 1.69 billion net income, and that allowed PhilREIT to distribute 547 million pesos in cash dividends. So these are the properties, if you are familiar with the Alabang area, yung Alabang Zapote Road is just adjacent to the property. So how many buildings is it? 17 grade A office space buildings that are under this particular REIT vehicle. From the perspective of price appreciation, there's not much that the company is sharing sharing, no, in terms of catalysts for price appreciation. But because of the quality and attractiveness of its portfolio, maganda yung dividends, no? So very attractive yung dividends, and so far this has delighted those seeking income from their investments. So that's the kwento for PhilREIT. Very stable, not much going on to affect the share price other than the lease contracts. Okay, and the REIT number 4 out of 5 that we'll talk about now is RL Commercial REIT. This came out or debuted on the Philippine Stock Exchange around September 2021 together with MREIT. Since its IPO, it has gained around 32%. And if you take a look at the salient points, this is actually the biggest REIT in the Philippines at the moment if we are basing it off investment properties. They have a 99% occupancy rate. If you look at the tenants, they are probably familiar to you: Accenture, Concentrix, Ernst & Young, URC rents from them, other known companies like Mitsubishi. So medyo kilala, medyo stable, and that allowed the company to generate revenues and income. So they started lang mga August, no, August, September, kaya medyo mababa yung revenues niya compared to the rest or previously discussed. But take note naman, no, out of the 719 million pesos in revenues, magkano income dyan? 633. That's only 80 million pesos in the cost revenue structure. So parang, diba, 600 million yung tubo, 700 million yung benta. Grabe yung rate nila, no? Yung profitability ng REIT na to. So out of the 633 million net income, 616 million pesos were distributed as dividends in 2021. Isa pa lang yun, no? Isa pa lang ang kanilang pinamigay. So where are these spaces? What are their properties? Robinson's Equitable Tower, Summit, Center, Cybergate, Alpha, Beta. So yun, there's one in Tarlac, Luisita. There's one in Naga, and I think one in Cebu. So yun, medyo ano siya, you can now start to see that there are differences in locations, no? But the quality remains high, as evidenced by the 99% occupancy and the financial performance. Okay, and then the last REIT that we'll talk about for now is MREIT, no? So I mentioned na sabay to in offer and nag-debut sa Philippine Stock Exchange around September 2021, not even 4 months ago. So they offered it at 16.1 pesos per share. Yung issue price niya, last price niya is 22 pesos. So it has appreciated by around 36%, no, since September. Yung expectation for MREIT is that it will give cash dividends that will yield investors 4.14% this 2022. But the exciting thing lang talaga about MREIT is that medyo very active siya in terms of trying to build its portfolio, no. So even when we're talking to clients about REITs last August, last September, we were highlighting MREIT because this is a company with a clear growth strategy in terms of expanding its asset base, expanding its ability to generate revenue, and again, that will all translate to higher dividends, no? So even though wala pa masyadong track record in terms of dividend sharing, what it does boast of is 49.4 billion pesos worth of investment properties. So I think this is the second biggest REIT, no? 99% din daw yung occupancy niya. They distributed 607 million pesos in cash dividends in 2021. So, ano yung mga properties under MREIT? They have 3 major areas: Eastwood City, Quezon City, McKinley Hill, Taguig, and Iloilo Business Park. So you can see there each of the buildings there, their gross leasable areas, and they're still, trying to grow more, no? So when I took a look at the 3 to 5 year investment strategy disclosure, no, that is available sa PSE Edge, I think this is what really excited people, eh. They are aiming to grow their gross leasable area to 500,000 square meters by the end of 2024. Okay, so that is a lofty goal. We think they can reach it. But it sends a clear message that the company is taking steps to actively grow their asset base, their portfolio. So lalaki, may catalyst ka for share price growth, may catalyst ka rin for cash dividend growth, no? And therefore tataas din yung yield. To summarize, no, the 5 REITs that we have here, I'd like to share with you this table and highlight the projected forecasted yield for 2022. In terms of preference for dividends, it looks like the most attractive one now is DDMPR. But then again, there are some concerns on sino umuupa sa kanila. So even though they might have the highest effective yield, siguro the highest effective yield with the highest quality right now looks like Philinvest. And then RCR, then MREIT. So if you're going to invest in REITs now, I would say that there's still some benefit in terms of income, no, cash dividends. But in terms of like price appreciation, I think medyo mag-slow down muna yung growth niya kasi the initial excitement for A REIT, for Philinvest REIT, for RCR and MREIT has already taken place, no. So nag-take place na yung buy-up niya, yung excitement, and I think for now, mag-aano muna siya, parang magte-trade range bound, sideways muna siya, right? So I just wanted to share this table with you to summarize the 5 REITs and to highlight that there is still benefit in terms of dividend income. As for share price growth, maybe not so much first. We have to see first and reassess based on the annual report which will come out in April. Again, sa madaling salita, attractive terms of dividends. For share price growth, temper muna yung expectations natin. Okay, so at this point, go back to the Q&A before we touch very briefly on Citicorp. So tingnan po natin yung mga sinasabi natin. Thank you for your feedback, guys. I really appreciate it. So let's try to answer some questions. May I know if there's a recorded, if this webinar is recorded? Yes, I'm recording, and then I will hand it over to my colleagues sa marketing department for posting, no. So I hope this still turns out to be a good webinar after it's posted kasi medyo informal ako this afternoon, no. But thank you for the interest. Next question. How much percent will consume in the tax when you invest in REIT companies? Thank you for the question, no. So when you trade REIT shares, when you buy and sell shares of stock of REIT, the tax there in terms of the buying and selling is the same as the tax applicable to trading common shares of stock, no. So when you buy shares of stock, what are the taxes there? It's 12% VAT on top of the commission, right? And then there's just a small PSE and Securities Clearing Corporation of the Philippines fee, medyo negligible. And then when you sell, there's still the same 12% VAT on the commission, and then there's an additional sales tax of 0.6%. No? So overall, no, if you're buying 100,000 pesos worth of REIT shares, you'll probably know this already if you're trading, no. But the total friction cost or the kaltas is around 1.19%, buying and selling shares of stock. But when it comes to the dividends are subject to 10% withholding tax, right? So if you want it to be simple, you take a look at the yield, bawasan mo ng 10%, that will be your net yield. So all dividend yields are subject to 10% withholding tax. Do you still have to report capital gains tax when you book a profit, when you buy low and sell high? Hindi na po kailangan because ano na yun na kaltasan na yan ng VAT and nakaltasan na yun ng sales tax. So no more capital gains tax buying and selling shares of stock of REIT companies. So thank you for the question. Again, take note na lang the 10% withholding tax for dividend payments. Thank you. Is it possible to buy REITs abroad? Well, yes, of course, you can buy REITs from abroad. You just need to have an account with, let's say, the exchange where the REIT that you want to buy belongs to, no? Or if you mean buy REITs from abroad and the REITs that you want to buy are Philippine REITs, then all you have to do is have an online trading account and buy when you are abroad. So yes, it's very possible to buy REITs abroad. So if you want to buy REITs from Singapore or Hong Kong, you need to open a stock trading account that is registered with the Singapore and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So that's how it works. Next, are dividends from REITs taxable? Yes, they are subject to 10% withholding tax already. So when you receive the dividends, ano na yun, net of tax na. Thank you. Next question, is the percentage yield protected by REIT law? The answer is no, it is not protected by REIT law. All right. This gives the REIT companies some flexibility to pursue strategies for growth, right? So remember, REIT companies are owned by a sponsor and they're owned by the investing public. Ang purpose lang naman ng mga managers of companies is to maximize shareholder value. So they do that through a number of ways, right? So they have to pursue strategies to increase shareholder value. So that could mean share price appreciation, that can mean increase in dividends, right? So if you protect yield, no, then let's say there are years na negative income, no, net loss, no. Una-una, that'll tell you pangit na yung quality ng REIT. Pangalawa, pipilitin mo pa magbayad ng dividends. Hindi naman pwede ganun, no. Dividends are basically at the company's discretion. But the special feature nga of REITs is that as long as there's net distributable income, kailangan ipamigay. The company just has to disclose kung meron net distributable income or wala. What are the company's incentive for announcing net distributable income? Well, of course, syempre, they want to make their shareholders happy. They want to make their sponsor happy. That's why when Ayala invests in REIT and DD Double Dragon invests in DDMPR and Philinvest Land invests in FL and PhilREIT and Robinson's Land invests in RCR and Mega World Corp invests in MREIT. It's for a purpose, no? And that purpose is to also invest in a vehicle that holds their income generating assets. Right? So baka hindi protected yung yield, but all of the REITs are incentivized to continue giving yield because of their owners, because of their shareholders. So I hope I was able to give some flavor and some answer to your question. Thank you. Siguro one or two more questions before we close out the discussion. No? Does DDMPR have institutional investors? Last time I checked, there were. I don't know the level now. I probably can check after this webinar, but siguro the nice thing to do is to go to PSE Edge, check out the top 100 investors and see kung sino yung mga may tiwala at nag-invest sa DDMPR. No? So if you see some cornerstone shareholders there, that might send a message also to you in your assessing of the investment that there is trust, there is expectation, and there is patience. No? So if you want to see the institutional investors of any of the REITs, those are actually available sa PSE Edge for your review. Thank you. If I am a first-time REIT investor, which one of the available REITs are you gonna recommend? Actually, my question is, why kailangan isa lang? Why not several, no? Mix and match. Anyway, when you invest, you want to diversify your portfolio to lessen the risk. So if you have 3 or 4 REITs giving you around 4%, why not distribute it among 3 or 4 REITs that give you the 4% and also give you the chance to see some share price appreciation by way of their activity, right? So if you are a first-time REIT investor, I would actually recommend that you distribute it among several or all of the REITs. But again, in terms of quality, I probably gave you some idea of who are the highest quality REITs. On the top of my mind, you have A REIT, Phil REIT, no, and maybe RCR and M REIT, no, as the leading ones so far. But again, anything can happen, no? Because the ones who run the REITs are subject to a REIT plan, and they have to follow the REIT plan, and they have to make their shareholders happy. So there are a lot of things that can happen, but so far it has been very, very good for investors. If you're a first-time investor, consider diversifying between the existing REITs. Thank you. Next question. When I availed of IPO for M REIT, I only paid for the offer price. Are IPOs tax-free? Yes. If you participate in offerings, initial public offerings, it is tax-free for the investor. But when you sell the shares, you're still subject to the 12% VAT on the commission, and you're still subject to the 0.6% sales transaction tax. So IPOs are free of commission, are free of VAT, free of fees. No, you get it at gross. And it's the same for any IPO, not just for REITs. So thank you for that question. Next, dividend yield percentage is calculated at today's closing price. Actually, there are many ways to calculate dividend yield. If you want to use the historical cash dividends as your numerator and you want to use your IPO price as your denominator, that is actually your dividend yield. Kasi if you don't mind naman what's the price now, if you care about marking it or measuring it based on the IPO price, you can use that. No? So you can use for dividend yield, the equation is just cash dividends divided by the share price. As to what cash dividends you're going to use, be it historical or prospective, whatever denominator you're going to use, share price, be it your IPO issue price or your current price, that's up to you. But the important thing is, what are you calculating dividend yield for ba? Is it to check your historical gain, or is it to check what you're going to get if you bought today? No, so that's the thing with computing dividend yields. I hope I was able to give you some flavor for your question. What is the incentive for companies to put up or sponsor REIT companies? All right, so this is a good question. No? So if I'm Ayala Land, if I'm Phil REIT, if I'm Robinsons, M REIT, what are my incentives for putting up a REIT vehicle? All right, I think there are some tax incentives when it comes to contributing assets to the REIT vehicle, no? Kasi dati it used to belong to the sponsor, now it's in the REIT. So I think there are some tax incentives there. Pangalawa, there's also the incentive of getting your story out. When you get your story out, your growth story, you're actually able to mobilize the savings of the investing public. No, you're contributing to the development of the capital markets. You're also trying to give attention to the underlying assets. So if I have, let's say, a mall in my portfolio, or if I have an income generating asset that I'd like to give attention to, the REIT will certainly help. So if you have attention there, susundan yung story, pag maganda yung performance sa management team at maganda yung business model, then mag-expand yung value of the REIT company and mag-expand yung value of the share prices. Ngayon, if you are Ali or Phil REIT or DDMPR or any of the existing ones, Robinsons and Mega World, imbes na hawakan mo lang yung property at di mo alam kung ano talaga yung value, by putting it through the REIT vehicle, and the market is the one that basically values it based on the share price, no? You have an opportunity actually to also increase your gains. So those are the incentives for companies to put up sponsoring REIT companies, no? If they were going to keep it in their portfolio anyway, yes, they might have generated income, but because you converted it into a REIT company, or you deposited it to a REIT company and you basically securitized it, baka kumita ka pa dun sa share price growth from IPO, right? So a lot of incentives actually for companies to do this, and so far yung clear winner has been Ayala, has been Mega World, has been Robinsons, no? So the incentive really is to explore ways to maximize shareholder value. So very good question. Thank you for bringing it up, and I enjoyed answering it. Thank you. So so these real estate companies have set up real estate properties from which they're already gaining revenues through leases and rentals. So why do they have to set up REITs? Ayun. So again, just to summarize, no, they were already earning from it, yes, but because they deposited it into a new vehicle that is the REIT, then you are now able to get the story out. You are able to seek the participation of the investing market, and then you are able to also potentially book higher gains because you now own shares of the REIT vehicle, diba? Pag napalabas mo na yung REIT at nagtiwala yung investing public, then the share price grows. So you as the sponsor are not only earning through income because you hold shares of the REIT company, kumita ka pa doon sa share price growth. That's one of the major incentives in addition to the tax incentives for why these sponsors have decided to put up REIT vehicles. I hope I was able to answer it. Very, very technical, very interesting, very smart actually. No? So, ang galing-galing lang. Kudos to the sponsors. Ano po yung NOCD account? This is the name on central depository account that all stock trading accounts need to have in order to participate in the buying and selling of REIT shares. Okay, think about it this way, no? When you register a company, when you list a REIT, there must be a fixed number of shares of stock. If there's a fixed number of shares of stock, there must be a registry where it is kept, no, the records of which are kept. So itong mga REITs have its own registry, and because it has its own registry, there should be some type of monitoring. And the way we monitor the transfer of beneficial ownership of REIT shares is through the name on central depository account. So this is mainly lang for REIT trading. If you are applying for an account now, automatic na may NOCD account na yung trading account nila. But if you have an old stock trading account prior to 2020, then you have to request for us to create for you a name on central depository account, right? So if you are a new investor, this is not so much a concern, but if you're an old account holder, then you have to request for us to create for you a name on central depository account. So thank you for this question. If I buy REITs near the dividend payout date, will I get the dividend on the payout date? The answer is no, because you have to buy the REITs prior to the X date, hindi payout date, X date. So let's take a look at the X date, no? So let's use, for example, itong MREIT. You'll notice that there is table here. So yan, X date. This means that at November 4, all those who bought shares of MREIT November 4 onwards are excluded from receiving the 0.24 pesos per share dividends, right? So this is the same with any shares of stock. Whenever there's a declaration for dividends, they will announce also the X date, which means you have to buy before the X date and have shares before the X date. Okay, the registry, the agent, transfer agent will record all stockholders of record on November 9, but based on the X date. And then date payable November 15, that's when everyone receives the cash dividends, lessened by the 10% or net already of the 10% withholding tax. No. So remember X date. X date is the most important date to remember or to know when trying to get the dividends from REITs. Okay, so the latest time to buy REITs to get dividends is 1 day by closing of the day prior to X date. Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, what is the difference between an equity REIT and mortgage REIT? Thank you for this question. No, I'm actually not sure what a mortgage REIT is because a REIT is a company, it's a stock corporation. I'm not sure what a mortgage REIT is. Right, so when you say equity REIT, you're referring to the shares of stock of a REIT company, but a mortgage REIT, or maybe you're talking about similar to mortgage-backed securities. In that case, then ang pinagkaiba lang nun is that wala tayong mortgage-backed securities dito sa Pilipinas and meron sa US. No, so pa-clarify na lang for this question. Thank you. And last question, anytime po ba pwede mag-purchase ng REIT share or sa IPO lang? The answer to this is, as long as the market is open on trading days, you can buy REIT shares because they are now being traded on the secondary market. The secondary market pertains to the Philippine Stock Exchange. So you need a stock trading account. You have to fund it And then if you like to buy any of these REITs, you have to send in your order to buy shares. Can you participate during IPOs kapag may IPO REIT? Yes. But again, you need a stock trading account. So you can buy shares of REIT as long as the equities market is open. Today, the market was open 9:30 to 1 p.m. And as long as it's a trading day, for now, it will continue to be open from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you for the question. All right, so let's finish first the presentation proper before we move back to the Q&A. Okay, just to let everyone know, there's an upcoming IPO for Citicorp Energy REIT Corporation. This is going to be the first REIT that does not own office spaces, does not own hotels, resorts, or commercial spaces, but it actually owns our sustainable energy generating assets, land from the sustainable energy generating assets. Do they expect to generate income? So solar power plants ang laro dyan. And it's very exciting kasi maganda yung story, diba? Who doesn't want to invest in sustainable energy, right? So let me just give you some quick facts here. So who is CREIT? It is a domestic corporation and the sponsor is Citicorp Group. Why are they doing an IPO? Again, ang IPO is the first time it's an event wherein the company opens its books, its investing of its own shares to the public for the first time. So the idea is, I have a company, I'd like to list it on the Philippine Stock Exchange. So invest in my growth story. I will use this to fund and expand my income generating renewable energy real estate properties. From these, I expect to generate income and revenue. And then this one will translate back to investors through dividends and price appreciation. So ang idea with CREIT is that it is expected to provide shareholders with stable dividends. And this will be on the back of growing demand for electricity in the Philippines. And the catalyst for price appreciation will be the appreciation of the land value and their more efficient management of costs. Okay, so ano yung mga underlying income generating assets niya? You have the Clark Solar Power Plant producing 22.3 megawatts. You have freehold land, Citicorp Solar Tarlac, giving you 15 megawatts. And then leasehold land in Cebu, Negros, Bataan, Tarlac, Bulacan, and Cotabato, each generating 6, 15, 7.5, 18, 25, and 60 megawatts. Kamusta naman yung Citicorp, May benta na ba yan? Is it operational? Yes, it is operational. In 2020, it was already generating revenue in as much as 269 million pesos. It booked 104 million pesos in revenue. So, it sounds good, So, ano yung mga potential rewards naman, okay, of Citicorp, of CREIT? So, ang sabi dito sa prospectus is that it might give, or it is on pace to give 18 centavos per share this 2022, And 18 centavos per share translates to a dividend yield of around 5.7. And for 2023, it's expected to increase the dividends per share to 19 centavos per share, and that might translate to a dividend yield of 6%. The latest update, I think, was higher. I don't have the latest update, but this is based on the prospectus. So in terms of dividends, very, very attractive. In terms of price appreciation, well, depends how in demand and stable their generation of power is. Kasi solar power, diba? Solar power. So you're affected by what? Storms. You're affected by regulatory risk. Halimbawa, sabihin ni Philippine government, limited ang solar power distribution to ganito lang. Kailangan pa rin coal and traditional, Kailangan pa rin geothermal. So that might be a risk, regulatory risk. Another risk is that medyo mataas yung required capital, to maintain and to develop solar power generating businesses. So it might need to infuse more capital. It might have to borrow. It might have to offer more shares, And this is a very young industry in the Philippines. So, although the story is good, wala pa masyadong gumagawa. Wala pang maraming masyadong gumagawa. So, this could be the first of several. And if they are successful, it can pave the way for more. So, I just wanted to give a very balanced view for Citicorp, Yeah, there. So, that's my quick discussion on Citicorp. If you are interested in Citicorp, or if you'd like to REITs, So if you are already an account holder, congratulations. If you'd like to open an account, here are the 3 easy steps. To open an account, just visit our website, www.firstmetrosec.com.ph, and click open an account. Next is complete the online registration form, which will take 10 to 15 minutes. You're going to be asked to nominate a username and password. You're going to be asked to nominate or disclose your personal info, including TIN and SSS. And then once you complete the online registration form, you will receive a system-generated email. Then you'll have to verify your email address and finally upload your 3 documents, namely piece of paper with your photo-bearing Philippine government ID, signed thrice, proof of your settlement bank account number, and then your proof of address. When you open an account, please note that there is a code that we'd like for you to input. This is REIT 101. So please check how did you learn about the seminar or event. Click REIT 101. Again, REIT 101, seminar or event code. And once you complete the registration process, we will activate your account in 2 to 3 business days. Then you will have a stock trading account with FirstMetroSec that you can access through your computer, your laptop, your tablet, through mobile app. Yes, you can use your FirstMetroSec mobile app to buy shares of REITs wherever you are in the country, as long as you have stable internet connection or data connection. So if you don't have the app yet, please feel free to download it for free in Google Play and App Store. Use your existing username and password to access your account through FirstMetroSec Go. To fund your account once it is activated, please note that you have a number of funding channels, right? You can use Metrobank bills payment, PS Bank bills payment. You can also use BDO, BPI bills payment. The merchant is FirstMetroSec. Subscriber number is your online trading account number, in addition to various alternative ways like GCash, Coins, Click, PayMaya, Visa. What else can you do with your FirstMetroSec online trading account aside from invest in REITs? Again, you have all the listed stocks of the Philippine Stock Exchange that you can invest in. Blue chips, second liners, speculative names. You have the country's first and only exchange-traded fund, the First Metro ETF, which serves as a stock index fund for the PSEI. If you want to just mirror the movement of the PSEI through a stock, the FM ETF is your best bet. We have mutual funds and UITFs now on the platform. For every Philippine government bond offering, you may participate using your FirstMetroSec online trading account. And of course, you have the REITs. For those who would like to receive market updates, announcements, guidance, invitation, please feel free to join our FirstMetroSec Market Updates Viber community. We have, I think, 3,500 or 3,600 members here. We update every morning, every afternoon. And if you'd like to join, take out your smartphone, point to the QR code, and you will be redirected. This was actually something that I started on behalf of FirstMetroSec, and I'm happy to see that may value din naman yung sharing namin. I don't get so much reaction, but if you are here and if you join, I hope that when we post our updates, i-like nyo naman para maingganyo kami. Medyo malungkot pag post kami tapos wala nagla-like. But then again, of course, parang nasa inyo yun, diba? I just like interaction. I like communicating. By the way, you can take a screenshot of this or you can share it with your friends if they want to learn more about stock trading, investments, mutual funds, financial literacy in general, and announcements with regards to dividends, etc. For those who are on Facebook, if you are not yet a member, please feel free to join our Facebook community. It's www.facebook.com/groups/FirstMetroSec. Marami dito nagpo-post newbie here, and maganda dito is that the community members respond and help each other out. So we are all about the curating and the development of our community because, again, if you are successful investing, that gives us purpose and fulfillment. Kaya nga yung tagline namin, yung slogan namin sa FirstMetroSec is your future first, because by investing in REITs, stocks, we are helping you, we are assisting you in securing your future. If you're on Spotify, if you want to listen to something while you are on your daily commute, please check out our podcast. Our analyst, my very good friend Royce Aguilar, is our representative here. He talks about everything under the realm of equities and investments, so please feel free to check this out. If I do share this recording with our marketing team, it will appear on YouTube. Please follow us, subscribe to our channel, and catch this recorded video there hopefully soon. For any questions that I'm not able to answer this afternoon, please feel free to check out our help center, help.firstmetrosec.com.ph. Everything's there, from magkano yung fees, how do I avail of Pro, how do I transfer shares from another broker to here, and how do I transfer shares from FirstMetroSec outward, how do I invest, ano yung REIT, no, how do I open an account, etc. All of it is answered there sa help.firstmetrosec.com.ph, and I hope that you do check it out. I'm just happy to share with everyone that for our innovations, no, when it comes to our trading platform, our trading tools, our new website, Pro, for our activity, financial literacy, our activity when there are offerings, for webinars such as this, we were bestowed these awards and we're happy to share them with you. All of these are done naman with you in mind, with our colleagues, our clients, our friends, because we live to serve. It fulfills us and it makes us really appreciate or be encouraged. This encourages us to continue to give our best every day at work. So thank you very much for your support. Before we end the webinar, I'd like to take the time to answer just maybe up to 5 more questions kasi give you guys as much as I can, because anyway, you're here to learn. So ayun, so I have siguro 5 more minutes to try and answer some questions. Let's see. How do you see REITs industry in the Philippines 10 years from today? It will depend on the lease contracts, interest rates. If we're working from home, it will depend on what other types of REITs are now being offered in addition to yung office spaces. Baka naman may ano na tayo, 'di ba? May other types of businesses other than just solar. Baka may like innovative ideas, but I think in 10 years time it will be much more developed. We'll have a better understanding of how to value REITs. Hopefully there'll be greater participation, and it will be something that everyone takes advantage of, no? So the REITs industry is still very, very young. 10 years from today, we'll look back and say we invested in a good securities, we invested in REITs that have good business models, that were very cash flow rich, and really we're doing it to develop, the Philippines, no? So by investing in halimbawa Citicorp, you're helping develop the solar power industry, right? In addition to making a profit for yourself. So hopefully there'll be more, and there will be greater participation from the investing public. So thank you for the question. Next, will there be residential REITs, villages, condos, and suburbs? I think there will not be, because again, depende yan sa sino yung magbabayad, diba? If you create villages and condos and suburbs, you're subject to the ability to pay by the tenants, the users, no? And that is a business risk that not be so attractive. That is a business risk that might make it a vehicle that's not as attractive to the others. So I think since the market is young, each new REIT is trying to perform at the same level or outdo the previous one. So between a REIT that is offering you office spaces, high-grade commercial office spaces, and solar powers that already have contracts, no, to supply energy countryside and in urban areas, and then you're going to have suddenly REITs na villages, condos, and suburbs, parang it will not attract so much investment. So I don't think there will be residential REITs at the moment. Maybe some condos in high traffic areas. I can see that. Pero again, we have to take a look at the underlying income generating assets, no, and the business model of those. Kailangan high quality. Hindi basta-basta pinapasok sa REIT. Otherwise, it will send the wrong message. People will lose trust and demand for the REIT, and then baka stagnant yung investment. So thank you for that question. Very, very interesting, no? But I just wanted to highlight the point of the underlying assets. Next, are REITs more advisable to be held as investments rather than traded? Well, depends on your profile, no? If you're a trader, no, then maybe you might get bored. If you are in it for dividends, then yes, it's a good option to hold. If you're in it for capital growth, there are still catalysts for some, like MREIT, for Robinsons. I saw an article said that they want to expand, but maybe for the likes of Ayala Land, maybe for the likes of Double Dragon, might not be good to hold it if you're looking for price appreciation. So it depends on you as an investor, depends on your profile, depends on your objectives. So it's advisable for sure if you're looking for dividends, no, in conjunction with, of course, preferred shares and yung mga talaga namimigay na dividends like DMC, AGI, Meralco, no, Globe. So yeah, I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you. Maybe 1 or 2 more questions. May I know if you're going to issue a certificate for this webinar? No, I don't think so. This is a free webinar, no? And if I have to issue certificates to 267 people, baka di na ako makapagbigay ng mga ibang webinar. But you can ask for marketing an email. They'll certify that you attended, and I hope that will do. I can't answer this question for sure, but as far as I know, for free webinars, we don't issue certificates. Thank you. Next, can I open a separate account for my children using my TIN since they're still in school? If yes, how do we do it? I suggest you open an Intrust 4 online trading account, right? This will require an in-trust for bank account with your chosen bank account, be it Metrobank, BPI, BDO, right? So when you register for an account, it's going to be an in-trust for. It is yours to handle and manage. But when your children come of age and they have their own TIN number, we will ask it from you and then we will turn over the account to your children. So again, ang recommendation dito is in-trust for account. Thank you for the question. Next, FMS account opening, no Metrobank account, no PH driver's license, PRC or OFW identification docs. It is required to have personal appearance. Is there any way to do it online? Yes, we do electronic eKYC. In fact, I do a number of electronic face-to-face know your client calls every morning. No Metrobank account, no problem. You can use BPI, BDO, Union Bank, Security Bank, Land Bank, as long as it is a Philippine bank account. No PH driver's license, PRC. Then we normally ask for passport in conjunction with PhilHealth or Pag-ibig. No? Sorry, we really need this because hinihingi sa amin to ni SEC and we need to properly identify our clients and comply with anti-money laundering, data privacy, etc. laws. No? So very protected ang industry, safeguarded yung industry from those risks. So you can open an account without the Metrobank settlement bank, but you need the proper identification. And yes, we can do a face-to-face appearance, face-to-face contact through video call. No? So no need for personal appearance, but then through Viber, WhatsApp, Zoom, Facebook. Thank you for the question. Next, do you need a Metrobank account before opening FirstMetroSec? No, you can use any settlement bank as long as it is a Philippine bank account. Thank you. I do not have any updates for SM REIT, but I think they're planning to list this year. I'm not sure. No, we'll wait na lang for disclosure sa PSE Edge. Thank you for the question. Next, will FirstMetroSec have interview session with CREIT officers for their IPO? It would be nice. I'm not sure. It will depend on our analyst if he can get in touch with the CREIT management. It will depend also with the CREIT officers if they have time for us. No, they are the ones who are raising capital. I'm sure they are in demand. They have to make several appearances, regulatory clarifications. No, so we did one for Mega World REIT and RCR. Hopefully, we're able to do one with CREIT. But if not during IPO, pwede naman after. No, so I hope we are able to do this. I'll be with you watching if meron, but I can't answer now if we will have a CREIT officers interview before the IPO. Thank you. Will you get a copy of the presentation with reference to REITs? On which REIT is better to invest? Sorry, I do not plan to share my presentation, but I plan to share the recording on YouTube, and then you can just view the recording afterwards. No, and I hope throughout the discussion, I was able to give you the tools that you might need to analyze REITs, to assess REITs from different perspectives. No, I know that it has been probably very exciting, but every investment decision you have to make has to be carefully assessed based on what's happening now, not what happened so much in the future. So, well, kasama na rin yun, but most important is what's happening now and what could happen in the future, right? So, thank you for the question. Okay, I answered naman siguro yung CREIT, no? Is it real estate? Well, it's real estate that has solar power generating, no? Kaya nga real estate investment trust, diba? Real estate. Ano yung laman ng real estate? How does it make money? So for CREIT, it's solar power generating. No, not office space, not commercial centers, but sustainable energy. Thank you. Sige, I'm trying to run through the questions some more. What is the comparable industry peer for CREIT? Honestly, that's a good question. I cannot think of anything with sustainable power other than ASEN. So ASEN has sustainable energy, but it's much, much bigger, much more of a regional player. They're much more diversified kasi di lang naman ata solar power yung sa ASEN, right? And as far as we know, they don't plan to put any of their assets into a REIT, right? So ibang business model yon, but very comparable siguro yung concept of sustainable solar power energy for CREIT would be ASEN. Thank you. What internal events or external events can cause unexpected downfall of REITs? So on the top of my mind, change in management. No, if you have officers handling REIT na hindi naman talaga experienced, forte, or interested in REITs, they might make decisions that change the strategy, the portfolio. Then baka that might be the first cause. Maybe the quality of the tenants, kung pangit pa rin or hindi nag-improve, that might make it not as attractive to invest in the REITs. Of course, the cash flow of the tenants themselves, they might not be able to pay rent. No, for City Core, I mentioned kung hindi nga maka-operate due to storms, lack of sun, baka mag-iba yung government ng iba nilang contracts with regards to sustainable energy, perhaps limiting it because of its unreliability. If it is ever unreliable, those can be events that can cause unexpected downfall of REITs, no? Just like any business. But again, the measure of protection here is that before a REIT is listed on the stock exchange, it must be registered with the SEC, no? So it might not feel like may ganong effect, no? But to be honest, all of these things are being watched by so many eyes, and before any REIT or security is offered to the public, it is reviewed several times over and over and over again by officials in the SEC, because it is in their interest to keep the integrity of the capital markets intact, make sure there's no foul play, and at the same time encourage growth and development of the industry. Hanep, diba? Ethics, MSFin 296. Thank you for the question, sir. What was the fund for mimicking the index? FM ETF. No, First Metro Exchange Traded Fund. So you go to trade page, click FM ETF. The price is there. Thank you. Next question. Thank you guys, all 168 of you who are still here, down from 260. Okay lang. Everyone's busy. The earlier questions. When does FMS see interest rates going up this year given inflation was higher than BSP target? Last update ko from this is mid-year to third quarter. We think that there might be as much as 50 basis points rate hike. I'm not sure, but not soon yet, no. Baka latter half of 2022 daw. So that's my latest update with regards to what our research team thinks. Thank you. Do REITs give property instead of cash dividends? So far, wala pa naman incentive to give property dividends, no. Yung REITs, so far cash pa yung demand ng market, and cash yung disclosure, no, ng mga REIT companies when they go out and market and do their presentations to cornerstone investors. So no idea yet if they're going to be property dividends. Thank you. Questions. Maybe two more questions. Paano mag-avail yung tax exceptions for OFW? I'm not sure if OFWs are exempt from the taxes here kasi but you can email customer service at firstmetrosec.com.ph if you'd like to clarify. Ang alam ko lang, walang exceptions OFW for taxes when it comes to trading. No, we're all Filipinos, we're all investing, we're all trying to take advantage of the financial options that we have. So all of that is already minimized, no? So yun nga, maliit lang, 12% on our 0.25% commission, that's VAT, and then 0.6% sales tax. So I'm not sure if OFWs are exempted from those taxes. Pati sa withholding tax ng dividends, no? Parang wala pa akong naririnig. Thank you. Next, may compounding po ba pag mag-invest REITs? Well, if you continue to reinvest the dividends you get from REITs, then yes, you can compound your income, no? So thank you for this good question. It's a financial literacy basic question, which is always a nice reminder for us. If we reinvest the dividends we get from REITs, yes, we can compound our income. Next question. Let's say if the performance of the REIT company is poor, will the dividends still be given to stockholders? As mentioned earlier, depends on the net distributable income. If the company has no net distributable income, then there will be no dividends, no. But as long as there is net distributable income, 90% of it will go to shareholders. That's why I made it a point to discuss and highlight quality and attractiveness of the underlying assets, right? Kung pangit, then there's a risk that dividends will not be paid. But if it is a high quality underlying asset like office spaces, no, senior tenants, etc., then it will give some stability in terms of cash flows, no, that you can expect from dividends, no. Thank you for the question. Next, how to avail of CREIT? Have an online trading account with FirstMetroSec, wait for the updates, and then subscribe during the offer period. But we suggest to do it through PSEEC. No, PSEEC will guarantee you up to 100,000 pesos worth of investments IPOs. So CREIT is going to be included there. And we suggest that you course your first 100,000 peso investment through PSEEC para guaranteed or close to guarantee. And then if you course a subscription to create IPO through FirstMetroSec, we can only promise best effort basis depending on the supply of shares that we get and the demand for CREIT itself. So thank you for the question. Next, is it possible to transfer my existing stocks from a different trading platform to FirstMetroSec? Yes, it is very possible. This process can take about a week. Please visit help.firstmetrosec.com.ph and look for the article on how to transfer shares of stock from my previous broker to FirstMetroSec, no. All of the requests, documentation is done online, so it will be very easy and convenient to request this, no. So just to share, no, request will be made with us, but you also have to file the request with your other broker. Then kami na mag-uusap to transfer the shares of stock to your FirstMetroSec online trading account. Thank you for the question. Two more questions. How much is the minimum investment para hindi lugi sa mga taxes? Minimum we suggest is 8,000 pesos. This is the 8K rule, no, that you might have heard of to minimize the effect of 25 0.25% commission or 20 pesos, whichever is higher. 8,000 pesos is the recommended minimum when investing in shares of stock. Thank you. Are there mutual funds concentrated with PH REITs? I think mutual funds do invest in REITs, but I haven't seen any disclosure yet in the existing mutual funds in the industry in terms of how many or how much exposure they might have put in REITs, no? But alam ko, bago sila makapag-invest in REITs, kailangan muna nila i-update yung investment policy statement nila, pati yung mga fund prospectus to include REITs. Kasi bago nga yung REITs, yung mga existing mutual funds, wala pang nakalagay doon mismo sa fund sa prospectus nila that they can invest in REITs, no? So they have to update first with the SEC before mutual funds can invest in REITs. But I imagine madali na lang yun kasi publicly traded security naman yung REITs and it is shares of stock, right? So yeah, thank you for the question. But so far, I haven't seen mutual funds invest in REITs yet. Thank you. In terms of economic condition, you mentioned high interest rate environment is good for REIT. I said it might be good for REIT, not necessarily that it is automatically good for REIT, but it might be good for REITs in the sense that if you have a tenant whose contract is up, right, and then interest rates are higher now, which means that when you negotiate for the new lease, you might be able to quote a higher, step-up rate depending on the interest rate plus a spread, right? So economic condition bad for REIT, syempre, income, unemployment rate, of course, natural causes, storms, weathers, at least for the solar power generating REIT, no, that might be bad. What economic periods are REITs expected to underperform? Well, I think they're supposed to perform or have some stability during a recession. We saw that in 2020 and 2021. During expansion phase, depending on their activity in growing their asset base, they might underperform against, index names, growth stocks. In periods of peaks, no, baka habang nagko-consolidate yung mga index stocks and not growing as much as in the previous years, baka naman yung mga REITs are giving stable dividends and they might have an opportunity to expand also, no? So this is in conjunction with where the REIT company is in terms of their life cycle, their business cycle. Are they starting out? Are they maturing? Are they undergoing recession? No? So maraming ganon factors, but assess a REIT in the same way you'd assess any business, no? The difference lang talaga with REITs is that there is that REIT law that promises cash dividends to investors as long as there is net distributable income, right? So ayun guys, I love to stay and chat with you, but I have class at 6 p.m. Again, I'm still studying, no? So I thank you for your time with me and for paying attention to our presentation. I hope I was able to add value. Again, thank you for your questions, participation. I enjoyed it very much, no? So good luck with your investing in REITs. Stay tuned for a recording on YouTube and join our Viber group, no? I'm the one posting there siguro 3-4 times a day. So if you want to message me, please feel free to do so. So thank you very much on behalf of FirstMetroSec. This has been Marco, and take care everyone. Stay safe and have a blessed week ahead. Thank you.